Yes, yesterday was the first day and you saw that there was a lot of participation. There were many people. You enjoyed it, you think it's well done?
It has exceeded my expectations already because I didn't know what to expect, right? Unfortunately, I don't read or speak Greek. So I have to rely on translations or what people tell me. And when I came and I walked around Exarria, I could see posters everywhere. Oh, this is very positive. The posters looked great, very high production quality. I visited this space and was very impressed with that. And then yesterday for Andrei Grubacik's talk on direct action and Howard Zinn's first evening talk, the rooms were half to three-quarters full with people. And I thought, okay, this is a Wednesday night, this is reasonable. And then later on for Howard's last talk, the room sat 140 people and at least 200, 250 were in there, in the aisles, crammed. And then the room next to it was packed. And that had exceeded my expectations. I was very impressed with that. And then I walk outside and there's obviously over 1,000 people between the two music stages and the book fair and wandering around. And that was more than I had thought would be possible on a Wednesday night, on the first night.
And tomorrow you are giving your speech, which is about?
Participatory Society, Urban Space and Freedom.
And would you like to tell us a few things about what you plan to share with the rest of the people?
Well, I'm not an expert on city planning or architecture or any of these things. I'm an activist and I believe in the transformation of society. So I look at the problems that urbanization has today and the growth, both urbanization, its growth outward and upward, and how to balance that out and make a more sustainable and just society through new institutions, the institutions of a participatory society, which includes participatory economics and workers' councils and consumer councils that are self-managed, that negotiate an economic plan, but also through councils, nested councils for a political structure to help with the defining of law, legislation, and adjudication, as well as other transformations in kinship and relations between men and women, and in culture, in ethnicities, and so on. And I think that this vision offers solutions and a new orientation to how we view the problems of urbanization in this century, which, according to the United Nations, is a very big problem. And they say that currently over half the population in the world live in urban areas. And from what I've heard about here in Athens from you and others is that half of the Greek population is in Athens as well. Well, the UN projections say that within 20 years, 60% of the population will live in urban areas. And if this trajectory continues, as near as 2050, 5.3 billion people will live in urban centers. And as urban centers are sources for pollution and greenhouse gases, this poses a real threat. But the problem isn't so much that we need to reduce our consumption levels, although we do need to. The problem isn't even that we need to shift from one dependent and dominant resource to another, although we need to diversify in our resources that we use for society, for production and consumption as well. The real problem is control, worker and consumer control over the inputs of production and the products that we use for consumption and how it's allocated. So people themselves need to define the interests that work best for us about how we live in society, rather than the interests of capitalists or elites. And so this is the general thrust of the talk.
And one last question. Your last name is Greek.
Yes.
You have Greek roots.
Somewhere there is Greek roots. I was born in California, and my father was third or fourth generation Greek, and my mother was Canadian. And my mother made some Greek food for my father, even though she was Canadian. And I have to say that that's probably the thing that affected me most as I was growing up. I loved dalmati leaves and some other things my mother would make. However, at 18, I left and lived in Canada for 13 years. So I've never identified with a nation or ethnicity particularly. And although I have been influenced by these things, that said, the influence does not include ever living in Greece. And my Greek family, I've only recently had contact with them over the past few years. And they're wonderful, and I'm getting to know them better. But that's the Greek connection for me so far.
Thank you very much for your time. I wish you a good stay.
Thank you.